intimate conversations with wedding professionals as they share their stories, insights, and tips from inside the wedding industry. We'll chat about how to be authentic and that it's okay not to be perfect or run your business like someone else's Instagram. Let's dive into the privilege it is to serve our clients and discover the talented creatives that make up our community. When we share what we know and who we are, we better serve our couples as a wedding day team, as well as each other. Simply put, be Fabo. Now here's your host, Bobby Brinkman.
Hey, podcasters, welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to have on today Nicole. She's the owner of a wonderful Savannah. Man, it is just, I have to say Fabo again, wedding shop. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about all the wonderful things that she does here in Savannah and several other places that I know that she's very popular in. So welcome to the show, Nicole. Tell everybody who you are.
Hi, I'm Nicole Mason, newlywed. And yeah, I'm the owner of Ivory Beau. So we're a bridal shop, wedding planning, and floral design company.
And so tell our listeners a little bit about how you got into this lovely wedding industry.
Well, I first realized I wanted to work in weddings when I attended my cousin's wedding after college. And I just kind of thought her wedding planner was silly and not very good. And I was like, I could do this. This looks awesome. And so I just started to reach out to all the planners pretty much in Savannah until I was able to get a job. Part-time, I worked at David's Bridal, which introduced me to the industry of wedding dresses. And then through that, there was a shop in Savannah that closed. So the opportunity just kind of fell into my lap with another, now ex-business partner. We were like, let's open a shop. So started with wedding planning first, and then the shop came second, and then flowers came kind of shortly after that.
So I just have to ask, because in our industry, David's Bridal doesn't list way high up there on wedding dress shopping. So how did you know you did not want to be David's Bridal?
It's funny because I actually like David's Bridal. Like working there, it was just always so crazy and busy, but it is very stressful and it's a very different environment. You're not working one-on-one with a bride. So I think in any sort of boutique setting, it needs to be a little more personal. And, our consultants are never working with multiple brides at a time. They always are just focusing on one. And I mean, it's also really hard to find dresses that are that cheap. So, as a boutique, those options don't really exist.
But aren't you finding though that I know I am, that I've been doing this for 37 years. So obviously I've watched it expand a little bit, but aren't you finding that more and more brides are really looking for services like yours versus what they can get at one of those shops?
Yeah, I definitely think that, it's such a fun time being a bride. So I think having my girls do a really great job of just loving on the brides and giving them an experience that is really special, where they feel like they are appreciated and they're cared for. I can't tell you how many times we've had brides say how disappointing it was going elsewhere because they felt like they were a burden to the consultant. That's not the kind of experience you would get at our shop. We want to get to know our brides and treat them like they deserve to be treated and celebrate the time of being a bride, because it's not like you're a bride every day.
Right. And I think that you definitely, and again, have not been in the shop to do dress putting on or anything like that. But I do have clients that have, used your dresses and your services. So that's one of the things I think that set you apart a little bit, is that you're not treating it so much as a sales pitch, but you're treating it as an experience that's, it's all part of wedding planning, and you're excited to be part of that with them. And I think that's one of the things that sets you apart.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos for that. How many of the brides that come in, do you say on average, go ahead and get you for your planning or floral or both or one or the other?
I would say maybe one in every 6. I'm looking at my employees to see what they think. I feel like it's really increased this year. I know more and more we're getting more of the girls that will come in are also interested in flowers and planning. Maybe not quite 1 in 6, maybe like 1 in every 10. I'm not sure. I should probably figure that out.
Well, no, I mean, it's a good thing because you're offering, you're offering, to get the, that's amazing.
Sorry.
Listeners, she's on video, so I'm watching her toss a phone back to one of her employees. So this is just another thing of being a small business owner. You're always juggling 8 or 9 things. So, that just goes with the territory. So which of the process is it that you really like the best? Do you kind of like planning the dress part, or are you just really all into your floral design?
Oh my gosh. I just like being involved in all of the pieces, I think. So, I mean, as a small business, like I'm really hands-on with doing like our accounting and our financing and working with an accountant on that. And then like, I love coming up with new and creative ways to advertise and do things on social media. And then like, I love arranging flowers. That's always really fun when we're getting to style and design and create. When it comes to like wedding dresses, I like to call myself that guy, Randy, on Say Yes to the Dress. Like I like to be the person that comes in and is like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And just kind of help be a support for my consultants. And then of course, like I love planning weddings. A lot of my time is spent doing emails, just to organize all the little details. So
you wear a lot of hats.
I like all of the things.
Exactly.
Which is probably good, or else it would be really hard.
How big of a staff do you have there now? How many girls, or guys or girls, do you have working for you?
I have 3 full-time employees. So one is mostly wedding planning, one is mostly flowers, and then one is a sales consultant. And then I have 2 part-time sales consultants, and then I have 1 social media advertising assistant, and then a handful of other girls who are just like contract employees who help with wedding day.
And how many couples do you see come through there on a day to look for dresses?
That's a good question. I can maybe look it up. I know like on the weekends are usually our busiest time. Bridal appointments in a month, anywhere from like 20 to 50,
Jeez.
Give or take. I guess it depends on the month. Like
exactly.
This is our busy time of year, and then sometimes summer will slow down.
Gotcha. So maybe this is a question for your social media, girl there, your manager. Where are the brides finding you? Are you finding that brides are literally following because you do have a wonderful Instagram feed. So kudos to her for doing a great job at that. But are you actually finding brides that are reaching out on Instagram to want to talk to you or come in for an appointment?
Yeah, we get a lot of people who find us on Instagram, and it's always really fun when they come in because they're like, I watch you on Instagram, and we're like, oh, we better be extra funny today.
Well, but that's cool. Don't you think that's what this generation is looking for? I mean, that's how they contact people. They're not so much going to go to the computer and type in a big email or follow even though we all have wonderful websites. I know I'm booking people right off Instagram, and I think it's because we're engaging and people find our personalities.
Yeah, I think definitely the people, and I mean, also the people that find us on Instagram are the ones who are, they're just more likely to feel like they know us. And so I feel like they connect with us a lot better. So I would say, yeah, we do get a lot of business through Instagram.
So destination brides coming in, are you seeing a mix of local Savannah area, low country area, and those that are coming in to have weddings there are coming to you as well? So
most of our wedding planning clients are destination, so they're not from here. I would say maybe like 75% of our couples that we are planning their weddings are not local. And then for flowers, we do get more local clients. And then for dresses is mostly local brides.
Exactly. So exactly. So when you in the dresses, are you guys seeing trends that you wish would go away or ones that you wish would come back? I mean, some styles that you're really liking. How do you go about deciding, what brands to carry there or what styles to carry?
I spend a lot of time. Well, I try to ask my girls what they're seeing. So if they're getting a lot of requests for something that we don't have, I know right now, we really are lacking in plus size dresses in A-line shapes. So bringing in that. And then a lot of it is just kind of what fabrics are we missing? So I don't know, we when we first opened, we were super boho and super trendy. Now, I mean, the lines we carry are a little more, I don't want to say like mainstream, but they kind of have something for everybody. As far as like styles I would want to go away, I don't know. I just really love wedding dresses a lot. That's really hard. I can't really think of anything that I like want to go away other than like we do have some older samples that, you know, haven't sold as well as others.
Right. But I also think it's great that they're very inclusive and you have the larger plus sizes, because I know that, you know, in just talking to couples, that's one of the things that they think are lacking, that they can't find shops that have, you know, I'm a bigger girl, so, you know, I appreciate that, you know, when we can have, you know, sizes and things that we can find. So I think that's great that you're inclusive like that and that you do try to get those in there. So any trade shows, trunk shows, do you do all those kinds of things?
Oh, we do all the things. We just picked up a new line that we will have a trunk show with March 4th through 18th, just to kind of kickstart the collection. But occasionally we do have trunk shows, and then we have sample sales every now and then, just to sell some of like the styles off the floor.
So, and tell the listeners a little bit that she has just recently moved to a wonderful new location. So bigger, better, you love it. Everything's under one roof now that you do there.
Yeah, our previous location was half the size. So when we were doing flowers, we were literally doing flowers in the middle of the floor, where a bride would normally be standing and trying on her dress. So now we have a separate flower workshop space, which is really nice. We're able to keep the shop clean and keep all the flowers tucked away.
That's cool. So how far in advance, let's talk about each category a little bit. How far in advance do brides need to contact you for dresses to have it ready to go for their wedding planning, and then if they want you to be their florist?
For dresses, to not be stressed, I would recommend like 8 to 10 months. Our designers can take anywhere from 4 to 5 months to get in, and it's nice to have a little buffer zone just in case, you never know. And also just to have time for alterations, so you're not paying rush fees.
Are you doing alterations there? Don't mean to interrupt, but are you doing alterations there?
We do not do alterations here. We work with Stitch, so they do a great job. So I just recommend having more time. That being said, you can get a dress with less time. We've had several brides recently just buy their dress and their weddings in 5 months. Right. But I wouldn't, if you have the time, I would recommend using it. And then for wedding planning, I mean, that's so hard. Like if we're doing full planning, I would say at least like a year. However, again, this year, like we booked a full planning client in January, their wedding's in April. And then we booked someone for their wedding in September. So it's just kind of, I guess, whenever you're ready, like we can make it happen as quickly as possible, or if we have more time, we'll obviously use it. And then for flowers, I mean, as long as we have the date available, we usually like to have at least 3 weeks to order. So it just kind of depends. We're willing to work with brides if they have less time, as long as we have the availability of our team.
And when it comes to the floral design, are you just totally like, do you just love when brides come to you and say, just do your thing, here's my idea, but then just run with it? Or, you know, how do you explain to the listeners a little bit about how different your floral design is versus somebody else's? Because I think it does have a unique look, which is it's a fabulous look, by the way.
I think it's always nice if they just kind of trust you to do what you do best and not want to like be really particular on every little detail. I think sometimes, I don't want to say like you're setting yourself up for failure, but like if you have a little bit more flexibility in the final vision, then we're more able to create something that's organic and looks nice and looks really pretty. I think our style is a little more natural and, like I said, are very organic. We love using lots of greenery. I mean, we do love big blooms too. And we are just a little bit more quirky, I would say. Like we're not really known for like super tight bouquets, although we do that.
Right. No, you're definitely a flow. You definitely have that boho chic, but I think I think it's a very Savannah thing in a new, different, trendy way. Because I don't think Savannah is all those uptight things. So, I mean, your work and your style definitely reflects that. So when people are designing, you're designing, how often do you have to say to somebody, hey, I'm going to have to break your heart, that flower isn't really available right now? Or how do you go about guiding that part?
I mean, we always do our best to get a flower if there's like a specific flower someone wants. But sometimes it's just like we have 4 wholesalers we work with and nobody can get it. We'll just have to let them know. And I mean, from the get-go, we always will make sure that, and it's even in our contract, like we cannot guarantee a certain flower just because you never know. Like maybe the crops all died because of a bad storm. Like there's just so many things that can affect the flowers that are available. So we just don't want to make that promise and then not be able to deliver.
And are there any venues, it's kind of an odd question, but since I have somebody who I think is a very educated person in this way, are there any venues that you can think of that we in Savannah or even Low Country area that you can't do certain flowers in? Like, are there certain places that, you can't do a certain flower on the table, or they say, hey, no red flowers here? I know some of the churches, we can't do the live petals anymore, but is there anything you can think of?
There's a lot of churches where you can't do, like, you can't even put anything on the altar. But other than that, I mean, most venues are pretty, like, open to things as long as you pick them up afterwards.
Exactly.
I can't really think of anything.
And so when you pick up the florals, are you doing anything with them? Do you have a service or anything that you donate to? Or is there a project that the flowers go to at the end?
Well, we recently are hoping to start partnering with Loop It Up Savannah. So it's a program for after-school program for kids in the area who might not have opportunities to do activities. So we'll be donating the flowers as long as our clients are okay with it.
Right.
We'll be donating the flowers to them so that they can do like activity classes, like how to make flower crowns or arrangements, or just be able to reuse them, because it is sad to see like thousands of dollars of flowers go to waste. So we just thought that would be a nice way to give back to the community.
Right. No, and I can tell you that there's been numbers of times that at the end of an evening, some big bouquets have been left. And, down here at the Golden Isles where I am, I happen to have a hospice that's close by. So depending on my schedule the next day, I will happily pick one of those up and just bring them home. And the clients are like, you're right. I'm going back to my hotel. I'm not going to be having this. And man, you walk in and it just brightens up somebody's day just for 5 minutes, and so I think that that's just a great thing that we all do. So let's talk a little bit about, are you the only one designing other florals? Do you have a team that helps you with that from concept to delivery?
Yeah, I have a whole team. So Emily does a lot of our flower proposals, helps with ordering flowers and just making sure we have all the inventory that we need. And then myself and Mackenzie, and then I have a few other girls that are super part-time. They'll all come in and help when we have like big weddings and we need to put together all the arrangements. So it's definitely a team effort. It is not just one person.
Are you finding for you guys that the weddings are longer and bigger versus, I guess the ones coming in for 2019, are you seeing that they're going, hey, we're going a little bit longer, our budgets are a little bit bigger, kind of compare 2019 to 2018? What are you seeing anything different there?
Definitely the clients that are booking us for full service, we are seeing much higher budgets than in the past years. And a lot of them definitely are wanting a very unique experience for their guests. And so things like decorations and bands, like having specific type bands that really fit the vibe of them as a couple, we're really seeing a lot of that right now.
And I think that we are too. We're seeing that it's more about the 3-day thing. It's not so much about them anymore. It's definitely, hey, we're having our people come down here for a travel, and we want it to be a welcome party on a Friday, then the celebration, and then we're having a big get together on Sunday. And I think that is definitely this generation that, I know for a long time millennials were about them, but these Zillennials, as they call them, are all about we. So, I love that, because as business owners, that gives us 2 more opportunities to really spend and do something with them. And as business owners, that helps our bottom line, keeps our employees employed. And again, I think you can be a part of their day and really get to know the theme better, and you can do that.
Yeah. We have a couple right now of really big weddings where like they're having a rehearsal dinner and then they're having welcome drinks and then, the wedding and then they're having a brunch. So I definitely think there's a lot of that, especially with the destination weddings.
Exactly. So let's segue a little bit to about business. What's the hardest part for our listeners? We have a lot of small business listeners to listen. What's the hardest part about being a small business owner?
I think just juggling everything. There's just like a lot of pieces that bring it all together. So like I said, there's finances, there's how to make sure that we're staying active on social media and we're not losing traction there. And then, I'm really blessed right now. I have an awesome team, but it took a while to get there. We went through multiple salespeople that didn't work, and finding the right people that can help make it all run smoothly is tricky. And just staying positive. I think that especially in sales, it's very cyclical. So there are going to be times where it's really slow, and making sure that you're not losing track of what the big mission is. So just making sure that you're just kind of trying to hang in there through all the ups and downs. And just dealing with, like, I think as a small business, you're putting yourself out there to be reviewed and judged. So, if you have bad feedback, sometimes that can be really crippling, but making sure that you're able to stay positive through everything and focus on, what you're here to do.
And I think that you have a good voice. I think people understand your voice. I think you've set out not to be the cookie cutter. So, yeah. Sometimes that's hard. You want to stay in business, you want a great team, but then all of a sudden you do have a voice that's a little bit different than, Aunt Mary's bridal shop, 10 years ago. Not that Aunt Mary had a bad bridal shop. Let me just clear that up. I'm just saying, but I think that, and it's true, getting a team that represents you, because your name's on it. You're out there. People know this is your company, and people want to know, hey, Nicole said this or this and this, or this is how Nicole acts. And one person makes it hard. So I get that. So is there anything that you can think back on and think, what if you would have known something 3 years ago or 2 years ago, or when you just started, what that you would do different, or some advice for somebody that just wants to start?
I would probably say don't ever have a business partner. I think that's very tough. It's a very tough thing to do, and it's just really hard. And I also think don't underestimate how much, if you're opening like a retail shop, don't underestimate how much inventory you really need. We had to borrow more money the first year to go buy more, because we underestimated greatly like how much we actually needed to get started.
That's pretty cool. How about apps? Maybe your social media. Is there any apps that you guys use on a daily basis to make running your business easier or better that you can't live without?
I use Planoly for Instagram, and it allows you to schedule all of your Instagram posts. It was really nice. Like, even when I was on my honeymoon, I had already pre-scheduled all of our posts. So oftentimes, like, a post that I put up, like, has been scheduled to go up for a few weeks, or not a week. No, I'm not that far ahead. Maybe like a few days.
Well, that's good, because, as you mentioned, you recently just married. So how are you finding that work-life balance now? Obviously he's been around for a little while. He's, so he knows you have a business, but, somebody who does work on the weekends, how are you guys finding that you're newly married, or just your work-life balance for being a small business owner that obviously is involved in the weekends? What do you do to balance that?
I think the nicest thing is that my husband has always been very, like, willing to kind of work around my schedule. So oftentimes, like, he knows I work every Saturday, so he works Saturdays too. Like, he'll go into his job on Saturdays, and then he's really nice in that. So he's a drummer by night and then an engineer by day. So when we know, like, I'm not going to have a wedding, he'll try to be conscious of that and maybe not take as many gigs so we can spend the evenings together. Whereas on days where I have really big weddings, he's like, let me take all the gigs so I can make all the extra money. But I think we try to work really well together as a team, but we're still figuring it out.
No, and you always will. So, I think it's probably the advice that everybody would tell you, that it's always going to be a struggle to figure out. So pricing is always kind of a hard thing to talk about, but pricing for dresses, have you seen them increase, decrease? Is there a way that you can work with a budget bride? What is the ranges of your dresses that are there?
So our dresses start around 1,000 and go up to like 3,500. And then if you add a skirt or some of the accessories, you may be looking at closer to around 5,000. If you do have a budget, we'll often work with brides on selling them the dress off the floor, which would then just be like gently used and just being tried on around the shop. And I definitely always recommend, if you do have a really tight budget, to follow bridal shops for when they are having sample sales, because that's a great time to get a designer dress at a discount.
Is there a designers that you think fit better for everybody's personality? You don't have to name names, but I mean, you definitely think that there's designers that fit certain types. And when brides come in and they say, I know I want to have this designer, and they put that dress on, where's she at? And they put that dress on, and all of a sudden they're like, yep, I'm not going to walk out with this one. There's something else that works better.
I think that once they're trying on dresses, it becomes very apparent pretty quickly, like that they're leaning towards a certain designer. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of our dresses are, I don't know, like you can there's something for everybody, I guess.
Well, because, it's like, people do that. They come in for a red car and they leave with a green car. But I mean, some brides look at your Instagram and fall in love with some of your dresses and then get in there and your salespeople help find something a little bit better and they fall in love with something else. So I was just curious how often that happened.
I mean, I would say that does happen pretty frequently, though. Like, we just had a bride last week who came in and she knew she wanted this Blush by Haley Page dress, and she did like it. But then when we put her in a Maggie Sottero, she loved it. So there's always going to be that. And I mean, we do have a lot of dresses, so you're not going to see all of our dresses just on Instagram. So you might see one and think that's the one, but then you try it on and it's just not quite doing it for you.
So let's talk a little bit about, the rest of the wedding day team. Is it frustrating to you? I always get to ask this to the guest as a photographer. How frustrating is it to you that photographers don't send you samples of the wedding day, that are you begging for, hey, bring me live photos?
Oh, like on the wedding day?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, some like if they take a few pictures and then they share them at the wedding.
Right.
I don't feel like that many photographers do that.
So, are photographers sending you afterwards? Or are you getting a good choice of? I always hear from vendors, why don't photographers send photos after the wedding? And I personally don't know, because I would want you to have the photos that I took, because it works for both of us. You get to put it on social media and tag me. I tag you. So I don't know why. So I was just, one of the things that every time I do these interviews are like, please tell photographers to send us photos. So I was just curious if that's following for you too.
I can only think of one photographer, and I'm not going to name names, but they will never send us pictures ever. So I don't know. But other than them, like we haven't had an issue with that.
That's cool.
We always ask though.
Right. Well, right. Because you have, again, your Instagram is so wonderful and so cool. So anything else? What is there some other things that you would like to tell just about being in the Savannah wedding industry? Do you service other areas, by the way, aside just from Savannah? Where else do you go?
Yeah. We've done a few weddings in St. Simon's. A long time ago, I did a wedding on Sapelo Island. That was before I owned the business. And that was a really cool place. We've done lots of weddings in Bluffton and some in Hilton Head and Beaufort. That's kind of as far as we've gone. That's not to say we wouldn't go further, but it does. I mean, we have quoted it for people before, but once all the travel fees are added in, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know, that's a little pricey. So, but I mean, we've definitely done a lot up and down the coast around.
And do you find that you like, the squares versus, is there anything special about the squares versus the beach? Is there a place that you like to land, or you just really you fall in love with a couple and whatever they want, you fall in love with that whole day then?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like the vision. Like, it's really fun when we have a couple that does want to do something a little different and that is like more meaningful to them, and adding in those elements about their personalities or things that they love into their wedding. So, I mean, I don't think location matters as long as there's like a way that they can just show their story.
So I'm going to bring up a little something here. I understand that you are doing Dancing with the Stars, Coastal Georgia.
Oh yeah.
So tell the listeners a little bit about that and how they can help you out, to help you reach some of your goals and your mission there.
Yeah. So the event is on June 8th at the Trade Center, I believe. I should know this off the top of my head. Will be 6 hours long. So from what I understand, there's a cocktail hour. Oh yeah, it is Savannah Trade Center. There's a cocktail hour and then followed by a dinner and then the dancing. So basically every dancer is challenged to raise $20,000. So I have a lot of money to still raise. Looks like I've raised 40 as of now, which is awesome. We're doing a lot of special events around town. So we're selling Mother's Day flowers, which all proceeds will go to the cause. And the whole event is to support Alzheimer's Association. So everything goes towards that, which is amazing. And it's really close to my heart. My dad was recently diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. So when I found out about the opportunity and the cause that it was for, I was like, I have to do this. This would be so fun. So hopefully I can learn how to dance really good.
Do you already have your partner assigned, or do you know who that is?
I don't. I've been stalking my email every day to find out if they have given me my partner yet. But I have been doing like workout videos that are dance related. So hopefully that helps.
So it's like you don't even know. Do you know what style dance you're doing? Like, is it a foxtrot? Are you doing a couple different things? You don't even know?
I have no idea. One of the ladies said, do you want to do hip hop? And I said, I don't think I'm cool enough to do that. I'm not ready. So we'll see.
Well, no, we're definitely going to put that in the show notes and link everybody back to that. And we'll definitely give you some shout outs for that. So before you wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to just let all of Savannah know and all the wonderful couples that are listening and the engagement? What's a process that you think would be helpful to you and helpful to brides that makes their experience when they come and look for dresses or planning or florals, when they come and shop with you? What's just something that they can do to make their experience a little bit easier and less stressful?
I think, there's like 3 parts to that. So if you're a bride shopping for your dress, only bring the people who you have to have with you. It can be a really emotional experience, and there's nothing more heartbreaking for us when a bride loves a dress and everybody else is pointing to another dress. And we've had it happen multiple times. Well, they'll say yes to a dress and then they'll call us next day and it's the other dress, but they didn't want to say it in front of the people they brought with them. So just bring the most important people with you. Everybody's going to love what you look like on your wedding day. So I think just keep that in mind. And then for wedding planning, I just think trying to focus on what you guys love as a couple, and you don't have to do what's on Pinterest or Instagram or wherever. Just try to find inspiration for how you want your day to look based on the things you guys love. I think that really enhances the guest experience when it feels like you guys as a couple. And then for flowers, I guess that kind of goes with wedding planning. Just be open to new ideas and just try to be open to, just something that's like a little more exciting.
Right. I don't think everybody has to look like everybody's 9 squares. Come up with something different. All right. Before we leave then, 3 things that are just, where do you see yourself in 3 years, or 3 things that you would like to accomplish in the next 3 years?
My husband and I are trying to buy land so that we can buy an Airstream. So hopefully we can get that done in 3 years. I really want to travel to Africa. That's huge on our list. I think just still be in business in the same shop. I really love what I do and I love my team. So if we're still in business in 3 years and still doing well, then that's awesome.
Well, and that's fantastic. And again, I have no doubt that you're going to be in business for the next 3 years. And I have no doubt you'll accomplish your other goals. Remind our listeners, everybody, where they can find you on all the social media outlets and anything else that you want to know before we head off here.
Okay, so we are super easy. It's at Ivory and Beau, B as in boy, EAU. And that's on Instagram. We're on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, I think. We don't really use Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. I think that's it.
And why, before we go, why the name? How did you come up with that name?
Oh, I always knew I wanted an ampersand. So we drew names out of a hat until we found two that fit together and made sense.
There you go. That is it, listeners. That's the best business tip at all. Talk about thinking outside the box and being open to new things. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you here. Everybody in Savannah, all our engaged couples that are listening, make sure that you do stop by and take her up on one of her services, if not all three. I can attest to the fact that I don't often get to work with her, but she's always on my list, and I would love to work more with you all. So thanks for joining us today. Have a fabulous weekend, and thanks so much, listeners, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We hope these conversations will take you into your wedding weekend with a little more confidence, proud of what you do, and how you serve your clients. Maybe you even picked up a business tip or two. Till next time, be Fabo.